Hey guys, it's Mohammed. Thanks for listening to our newest episodes of Plays, Ks, and Fadeaways. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and press that notifications bell to get notified for new episodes. Also, please follow us on SoundCloud at Clutch Factor Sports. Thanks, guys.
Happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. It is another episode of Plays, Ks, and Fadeaways brought to you by Clutch Factor Sports. I am one of your many hosts of the show, David Nunez. Hope you guys are all doing well. Not much to talk about this episode, unfortunately, but we're going to make the best out of it. Give a little quick recap of you guys' weeks. Almar, how we doing, bud?
We're doing all right. We're doing all right. Not much to do. I mean, as the days go by, I find myself trying to entertain myself being a harder and harder thing to do. But how's everything with you?
It's going as good as it can be. It's this quarantine life starting to get to me, but trying to make the best of it. Jack, how we doing, my man?
Like you said, about as good as I can be. Really bored, missing sports, and we counted last night because my dad has been keeping track of and scoring every movie or TV series that we've watched since the day that Rudy Gobert tested positive in the NBA shutdown. We were at 57 movies and TV series since then. We're about at our wits' end in the Barteck household.
Hey, I mean, I could easily tell that you're ahead of all of us here with a nice haircut. So, nice little Sergeant Slaughter look over there.
Oh, the flat top fade. Oh, I don't know.
Mo, how are you?
Oh boy.
Listen, doing well. Just trying to get by this terrible time. And I was at the park the other day. It was crazy because they had the bathrooms closed. You weren't allowed. You could go to the park and sit there and have picnics, but the benches were up, the bathrooms were closed, and it was just, I don't know, just not the same right now.
Well, funny enough, I was actually at the golf course. I actually went to go golfing at least 4 or 5 different times since they opened up the golf courses. So that's actually kept my sanity. So we're all good. I've been trying to tell Jack, hey, could we go play golf? But
we're gonna get out soon.
I'm waiting.
So to start off the show, I'm gonna just let you guys, the two little golf fiends over here, talk about the whole Tiger Woods and Peyton Manning versus Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady. So go ahead, fellas, take it away.
I thought it was awesome. I was really impressed. I was nervous at first because, first of all, it's hard to do any broadcast like that in this time where, you have to limit your connection between people and everything like that. And then on top of that, for anybody who was watching, they know it was a torrential downpour for most of the day. So
it was horrible.
That just
it was
added
basically
in
a crappy day.
Yeah. It added in a whole nother variant into this, equation that seemed like it might, you didn't know how it was going to go. And then they came out and it was a little bit of a slow start for definitely Tom Brady and even a little bit Peyton Manning and the two professionals. But once they settled in and they started to get the kinks out with the production, it went out really well. It was so cool hearing those 4 guys just kind of talk like the guys. It's hard to relate to people on that scale. But I just said before we started, that was the first time in my life that I ever related to Tom Brady hooking one into the woods off the third tee, and it's
Shaking
like, wow,
one into,
he's
I have no idea where. Jeez.
Yeah, and just hearing their sense of humor, like they were busting each other's chops the whole day. There was a bunch of times where, especially Phil Mickelson would throw in these little tidbits of information that it was like, wow, you really get a look into how these guys read situations, and this is just them casually playing. And then on top of that, I thought that the broadcast was really cool. I thought having Justin Thomas on was a great addition. And overall, I thought it went out really well. It ended up being the most viewed golf event ever. At its peak, it was over 6 million viewers. It averaged 5.8 million viewers. So granted, that has probably a lot to do with the fact that there's no sports on. It just goes to show that the more you have guys like Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson on the screen, especially alongside 2 NFL stars, the popularity of the sport can grow. And, I think that golf needs to expand on stuff like this if they want it to survive, really.
I do want to point out that this golf event, which they dubbed the Match 2 because they had one previous with just Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, the Match 2 raised $20 million for COVID-19 relief and and for charity. So that's really, really good.
That's great. Yeah, that's
That's
definitely
great. $20 million raised off this one single event. So that automatically makes this event a success. Now to go into the actual event itself, Justin Thomas and Charles Barkley on commentary. I demand more of that whenever possible. Justin Thomas, I don't know if Justin Thomas knew he had turned on his mic when he called Charles Barkley a fat ass on live television, but that was very funny. That was, oh
Charles
man.
Barkley is must-see TV. It does not matter what he is doing. At the end, when he was doing the bogey or bust challenge, I mean, that's as good as TV gets, and that was his improved swing.
Yes, the hitch it was not as pronounced. There was still a little bit. His tee shot was horrendous. I feel like the drive only went about 50 yards, and it didn't go 2 inches off the ground. It was horrible. But I will give credit to Chuck where credit is due. The rest of the hole he actually played fairly well, with a really good golf swing by his standards. So I'm surprised he even had a putt for bogey to even get close to the challenge, because I thought he would have shanked one into the water on the right.
Yeah, and Justin Thomas even said as he was putting, if you had even a half decent drive, you would have been putting for a birdie.
Or at the very least a par, so we would have smoked the challenge. He was a lot closer to actually being successful on that challenge than I think anybody would have thought. I will say this about Tom Brady. The one thing you don't want to make Tom Brady is mad, because when he caught wind of the wager by Brooks Koepka over Twitter that he will get $100,000 to a charity if he could par any of the holes on the front nine. Mind you, we were on hole 7. And Tom Brady on the front nine was probably the worst golfer in the history of live television. He was horrific, like Jack said. He was absolutely horrific. And it was the first time in my life that I could actually look at whatever Tom Brady was doing on live television, athletically related, and I know I can beat him in something. He was that bad. But anyway, in typical Tom Brady fashion, when you get Tom Brady mad, he does Tom Brady things, even when it's golfing. And he holds out from, I believe, around 120 to 110 yards. Looked like a pro for that one swing. But
he even had some backspin on it.
I know.
was
But
beautiful.
to go along with the rough part of his day, even at the highest of highs, there was the lowest of lows, and that was while he was swinging, he ripped his pants. Which
It was like he just couldn't get anything to go right for him. Even his best shot of the day, he comes away with a ripped pair of pants.
So Tom Brady, Florida Tom Brady is very different than New England Tom Brady for sure.
And he was also, no pun intended, the butt of jokes all day long. Whether it was on the practice range beforehand, during the match, people tweeting from home. I know you guys saw the Nick Foles tweet. If he said, "Hey, Peyton and Tiger, if Tom and Phil start making a comeback, 2 words, Philly special, go win this thing." Which, I mean, that's just peak Twitter.
I mean, peak Twitter, I feel like, was following Eli Manning along, during the match, which, by the way, I feel like the best follow on Twitter during quarantine is Eli Manning. I don't think he's ever missed on a tweet. He's had Twitter for less than a week, and he has yet to miss. And I feel
I'm pretty sure he's had a total of maybe 12 tweets, and all 12 of them have over 80,000 retweets. So
he was made for Twitter.
Eli Manning is pure. Yes, it's something about the Manning brothers. It's something about the Manning brothers that they're just so entertaining.
I feel like if we weren't under this set of circumstances around the world, I feel like having Eli Manning as Peyton Manning's caddy would have been amazing television. I would have lived for that. Eli Manning as a caddy.
Tom even made some references to Eli throughout the match, and I saw he tweeted at him the day before the match when Eli finally got on Twitter after years of people telling him to, and he said, just like you, to show up only in the 4th quarter.
This is true. This is
Tom
true.
Brady knows all about that.
I feel like, well, he's constantly reminded about it daily on Twitter or any social media platform that he's on. I feel like he's constantly reminded. I mean, I know he could take a joke. He's took
And
a lot of them
he
during the
did
match.
say, I don't know how true it is, but he did say during the match, and just in passing, that it wasn't the Giants' losses that really burned him. It's the Eagles' loss.
I feel like the Eagles' losses still like visibly bothered him because it's the most recent one.
And
You
I
remember
also
when they
think-
mentioned? Sorry to cut you. You remember when they mentioned when Peyton was talking about, oh, I might bring out Eli here. Then when he said, I might bring out Foles, Tom Brady instantly turned as soon as he heard Foles. He instantly turned.
Oh man,
I feel like that was the
that-
worst loss for them too.
No, that was
The
one.
the Philly loss. I mean, you could basically pin it on Brady because the last play, well, the deciding play of the game was a Tom Brady fumble after a sack. So
I mean, if you're Tom Brady, I mean, look at what you did that game. You did everything you could. Like you completed so many passes. You threw for so many yards.
500 yards.
Yeah, imagine that. You throw for 500 yards and you lose the Super Bowl. Like, what more can you do as a quarterback? Like, that would bug me too. Like, I threw for 500 plus yards and I couldn't win my championship. That on paper should have not even been close.
I do think that this was probably the best group that you could bring together to draw attention to a golf match. You have the two best golfers, two most well-known golfers in the world right now in Tiger and Phil, and then you pair them with two superstar quarterbacks from the NFL, which is the most watched sport in America. So it was just the perfect collision of worlds to bring everybody together at a time where there's no sports. So this was like as good as you were probably going to get, and it lived up to my expectations personally. I had a lot of fun watching.
For me, it exceeded my expectations. I thought it would be like slightly better, but obviously not as bad as the first rendition of the match because the first rendition was awful. I feel like they got stage fright because they weren't talking that much, and this time around, having like the two quarterbacks in, I think was a nice little icebreaker. I feel like Peyton started the jokes early.
I just gotta say,
he always does.
Peyton is like one of the best TV personalities I've seen in a long time too. I want to see him more on TV, and
I want to see him do like Monday Night Football or something, but I know he's just really reluctant to do so.
I've never watched a minute of golf in my life, but I tuned in for that just because I knew Peyton Manning and Charles Barkley would be there, and they made it so much entertaining. Like I really enjoyed watching it, and I think the PGA should do that more in general, just to get more ratings. Like Jack mentioned, like it's important for them, to get more viewers in golf, and I think this was like the perfect way to do so.
I mean,
if you haven't, I want to say Peyton Manning has a show on YouTube. You can find it called Peyton's Place. If you have never seen it, it is terrific content. Like I cannot recommend it enough.
The one episode where he turned into a Bears fan will just always like that. The most memorable scene is where he literally goes bobbing, like gets baptized basically into being a Bears fan. It's classic Peyton at this point, man.
It's so absurd, but yet since it's Peyton, it makes all the sense in the world.
Exactly, but
it's cool to see these guys as just humans.
Exactly. Yeah. Since we are talking about greats, I'm going to segue into our next topic. Speaking about arguably one of the greatest basketball players to ever live, in Michael Jordan, and the recent drama has come out within Michael Jordan and his, I guess you could call him, bitter rival Isaiah Thomas.
Emphasis on the bitter. Put that on caps. Do whatever you need to do. You got to emphasize the fact that it's bitter.
Exactly.
It just won't go away.
Can I read the subscript to get us segued into this? So this is basically what happened. Michael Jordan was caught on tape saying, word for word, Rod Thorne called me. I said, Rod, I won't play if Isaiah Thomas is on the team, period. So that's basically what was caught on tape said, Michael said, and I'm just going to go out and say it. This was rumored to have happened. Michael Jordan denied it vehemently back then, but I think many of us already knew that Michael wouldn't be on the team if Isaiah wasn't on the team, and it's kind of clear if if you have to choose between Isaiah and Michael, you obviously choose Michael Jordan.
At the same time,
we had a Dream Team documentary that covered this.
But going off the subscript, Rod Thorne also did say that Chuck Daly didn't want Isaiah Thomas on the team either. So honestly, you could kind of think of it
His own
as
coach.
yeah, exactly. You could think of it as two different ways. As the fact that is Isaiah Thomas really a good team player, or
and if I may, I don't think that it was the act of leaving Isaiah Thomas off the team that has everybody still talking about it all these years later. I think it's
The
the
denial.
cover up that
Yeah.
is such a
Right.
big thing. And what makes it even worse is that we just had this 10-part documentary over the past 5 weeks where it seems like in multiple episodes we heard the denial yet again, vehemently, like you said, denying the fact that he was the one that left Isaiah Thomas off the team. But all he had to say was, yeah, I didn't want to play with him. Neither did Magic, neither did Larry, neither did the head coach, neither did anybody on the
I
team
feel like
because no one liked
Chuck
him.
Daly, the late great Chuck Daly, didn't want Isaiah Thomas on the team for fear that it would be detrimental for the rest of the locker room.
Right.
Yeah.
Not want to play for that Olympic team.
And that's
I feel
all
like that was the
has-
reasoning. I don't think it has anything to do with Chuck Daly's or what his actual personal relationship with Isaiah Thomas. I feel like he was potentially looking at the bigger picture. Like if Isaiah
And
Thomas
if-
is on this team, who's gonna play on this team?
If Michael had come out and said that in the documentary, no one would have cared. It probably would have been one like
We would not
Bleacher
be talking
Report
about
quote
this.
tweet,
We would
and
not
that
be
would be
talking
it,
about
and it would
this.
be done and over with. But now,
honestly, it would have fit and you could have put it right in the episode on either the Dream Team episode or the episode where Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer walk off the court with 7 seconds left on the clock. So
and
would've
now
fit in
that he
perfectly.
denied it, it
Exactly.
keeps going, and it just becomes. I don't want to say stain because I feel like that's over exaggerating, but now this is just evidence that. And I'm not taking away from the documentary because for what it was incredible. And I think that anybody who knows basketball knew that you're not watching that as a factual, statistical retelling of events. That was, it was somebody producing their own documentary. If I was producing a documentary on my life, I wouldn't want to paint myself in a bad light either. And, I think this just proves a little bit that documentary, although it was incredible, you should not watch it if you're looking for a full story on all the events from that time.
well,
It's
I
a
mean,
Jordan Brand
even
infomercial. That's
even
kind
now-
of what it is.
yeah, literally, even now, Scottie Pippen has come out and said that he's upset at Michael Jordan at the way he was portrayed in the documentary.
I mean, there are a couple parts that made Scotty look really, really bad.
Well,
I mean-
the whole was like whole episode and a half of where he was basically sitting out for the season. Like it made Scotty look very selfish. And made
did.
meanwhile, and they didn't really emphasize much on the fact that he was playing on a $8.25 an hour salary, kind of sort of, where
They put a huge spotlight too on that one game where Kukoc had the last shot drawn up for him, and he ended up sitting out of the play.
Oh God.
And
To be
although
fair,
in the end they painted Pippen in a decent light, but it's like when you
As a
have
player, they
bad
painted
parts
Pippen
in
the
there.
player in a great light. They painted Pippen like the actual players in a great light. But as a person, there are times where they made him look really, really bad.
to be fair, I heard this on Colin Cowherd's show, and I kind of want to reference back to it real quick. He said that this is what Pippen was, though. As a person, he was very talented, but this was just his personality. And I get it, he's upset or whatnot, but like many other reporters that come out and said, that's who Pip was. Like, that's how he was. Like, he was the guy who would get mad if he didn't get the last shot. He was a guy who sometimes would have a little attitude on the bench. He's kind of like a diva. I mean, these superstar players, a lot of them have it in them. As much as we like them, they all have that a little bit. So I think
it's the ego.
It's the
ego.
ego.
exactly.
I mean, if you're Pip, I mean, it's not so far fetched to think that Pip would have an ego. I mean, look at what he's accomplished in his career.
Right.
It's not too far fetched to think he would have an ego.
But
We
I
just
do-
had
I
Cinquay
do
Mills enter.
understand- I
just
do
wanna know,
understand why he
Oh,
took.
Cinquay Mills.
I do understand why. Oh yeah, and Quay is in here
Right. Just wanted to
finally.
mention him.
I do understand why he took exception to his portrayal in the documentary because it did seem like other than Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr, and maybe Jerry Reinsdorf, I don't think there's anybody in that documentary who was painted in a positive light.
I feel like Tony
Fully.
Kukoc maybe, but we didn't feature him enough. I feel like if we featured
Exactly.
Kukoc more,
I mean, I guess you could say Dennis Rodman was, but Dennis Rodman
But
was just a
even him,
weirdo.
No,
all
but
they talked about was his extravagant trips and
But at the same time, that's Dennis Rodman though. Like,
that's Dennis Rodman.
if you,
Yeah,
if
Yeah,
you,
but
no.
like that's what he's known for. He's known
Yeah.
for like being
even
friends
as a
with Kim
casual fan,
Jong-un.
even as a casual fan, like how nuts Dennis Rodman was throughout his entire career. So
Yeah.
I
And
feel
you're
like
telling-
I feel like how they talked about Dennis Rodman was not a disrespect to Dennis Rodman because that was him.
No. I
Yeah.
agree.
No, not at
And
all.
if you're telling a story, that is what you want to key in on
I feel
because
like
that's what the
we are
people
really
want to know
missing
about.
a 10-part documentary on Dennis Rodman. I feel like we're really deprived
well,
of that
you know,
right now.
since we're talking about Dennis Rodman, real quick, I do remember seeing a tweet on him literally saying he would not sit down and talk unless he got a tuna sandwich from Subway. And at the same time, they said that trying to get him to sit down and talk was like trying to get
It
like
was like a feral cat.
Feral cat.
a feral
yeah.
cat. There you go.
Yeah, we
And
talked
the
about
fact-
this already.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Oh,
yeah.
did we? I honestly I forgot. But at the same time, like this man kept talking about
Weirdo.
Kim Jong Un, how Kim Jong Un is like
Supreme,
the greatest or
Supreme
something like. There's
I
something
think he
seriously
referred to
wrong
him
with
as
Dennis Rodman.
Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un or something. I don't know.
Hey, I mean,
He's so off the wall. But back to the
Crazy.
Isaiah and Michael Jordan stuff. I mean, how does this make Isaiah look now? Do we look at Isaiah as not as bad of a guy because of like the intense cover up that Michael Jordan tried to like pull? Or
Oh
like,
no, he was still a bad teammate. I mean, clearly, just like not a great guy to be around. And I think that this only confirms that because all you've heard about him since that time was how nobody wanted to play with him. So I don't think that, and you just look at, the problems that he had with Magic that ultimately they've made up. And I think now he's kind of on a trail of like trying to fix the mistakes that he made during his playing days. And he's starting to realize it more, but I just don't think that he was a very good guy or somebody you really wanted to play with in his time as a player, which I get.
All right, but think about it.
Patrick Beverly type where you love playing with him, but if you're playing against him, you totally hate him, and it makes you not want to play with him.
yeah, they have that quality. Yes.
Yeah, I was
If-
about to
if
say that. I was about to say
Russell
like,
Westbrook, if he wanted to play with Patrick Beverly, what do you think he'd say?
you'd say hell no. You'd say you're bugging out. Same with LeBron. LeBron would probably tell him no. Like LeBron, he'd be chipping out LeBron's ankles. Kevin Durant probably would say hell no. Who are you gonna choose, LeBron or Patrick?
No, I don't
Bev?
think KD and Pat Bev has that much of a beef.
No, they was going at it. Game two
No,
of
but
that first
but that's
round.
on the
Hell
floor,
yeah,
but
they was
that's
going
not.
at it.
Yeah, but that's like I feel like KD looked at more as a nuisance, but I think he would like to have him on his team. Hell, he had Draymond as a teammate. It wouldn't last very long, but I feel like
Yeah,
he would.
but look
he
at
would
how that
tolerate
ended
it.
out. That literally shipped KD to Brooklyn.
No, I said it wouldn't
He's not
last very
having it.
long. I said it wouldn't last very long, but I feel
Yeah.
like you
Thank
can
you,
milk it out
Draymond.
for what it's. Yeah,
So think about it that way. He's already had the experience of Draymond. You're dealing with a shorter.
but it's like
Grizzlier
Draymond, but like at a smaller
Draymond.
dosage. It's not as bad, I would think.
I'd
Bro, do
argue
you understand that
he's
this
more
man,
annoying.
Patrick Beverly, he trains on the beach with Tim's, bro? This dude's weird, bro. He's out of pocket.
Yeah, well, I might argue he's more annoying than Draymond. If anything, I don't know. It's like it's close between them, but
I
I can
think
see why nobody wants to
I
play
mean, but this is the thing though. KD and Draymond had an obvious public outbreak. You've never heard of Pat Beverly having an outbreak with a teammate like that.
I was just going to
True.
say Draymond is more in your face, I feel like, but Patrick Beverly can get more under your skin.
Well, at the
Yeah,
same
Patrick
time,
Beverly's like annoying as hell. Talk about, oh, KD, you gonna take that shot? Huh? You want to take that shot?
in
Huh?
defense of Draymond Green and the whole Kevin Durant situation, we have to understand that Kevin Durant is very soft. Like when it comes to media side and just being called out in general, he's very soft.
I'll call him
Yeah.
sensitive.
Like literally, the
I'll
burner
say
burner
sensitive.
accounts.
I wouldn't
accounts are
go.
a perfect
Okay,
example.
I wouldn't say soft. I'll say he's quite sensitive to criticism or
Okay.
or anyone having
Yeah,
an opinion
that's
on
a
it.
that's
He's
a better
quite
that's a better word for
He
it.
has a very high his radar is very alert on like any sort of perceived criticism of what he does.
To be
on
fair to
or off the
Durant,
court.
though, he doesn't let it get to him whatsoever. Like his mental is strong. Like that stuff does not bother him. I mean, he responds to it obviously, but he backs it up on the court. So I personally, when KD gets sensitive or however people frame it, I don't really care for it. I just think it's funny because he backs it up on the court, and as long as he could do that, he could say whatever he wants, in my
I
opinion.
feel like KD would
Yeah,
be
but to be
really
honest, you
good
got to think of it
in the
like this,
media.
bro. You're like low key might be the best player in the league, Why are you responding to some dude who has 5 followers and hasn't even seen what a basketball looks like?
Yeah,
Listen, maybe that's where you find entertainment. Like
I
maybe he
don't
enjoys it.
I don't disagree with a lot of the points you're making on him being sensitive to how he's
Oh no, he's
portrayed
sensitive.
in the media.
Him and Michael Thomas.
I think
right there.
I don't disagree with you. I think that a lot of him like responding to people on Twitter is literally for his entertainment. And
Right.
I think that when it comes to the Draymond
man.
situation, I can only speak on what I know. I wasn't in the locker room, so I know like Draymond has
None of
said
us
stuff
were. We
about
wouldn't
how he
know.
would act in the locker room and stuff like that. I don't know about that. What I do know is how it's the final straw was that game where the Warriors were down by 2. Draymond got the rebound, took it coast to coast, and threw up a circus shot to tie the game when Kevin Durant was calling for the ball from under the basket. And if you have Kevin Durant on your team, there's about 3 or 4 human beings in the world that should take the ball up instead of him in that situation. And I'd be pissed too if I was in that situation. I didn't get the ball as Kevin Durant. And for Draymond to then come out after that and not say, okay, it was my fault. You're the guy here. You should be taking that shot. For him to get in his face and make a whole scene on the bench about it, for me, that says a lot about how that instance played out and how Draymond was more of an instigator in that situation than anything.
And to kind of segue back to like the Isaiah Thomas thing, I just want to point out, like, I feel like players like Draymond, Pat Bev, Isaiah Thomas, instigators, they kind of get left off of history. Like, personally for me, Isaiah Thomas is a top 5 point guard, hands down, no question about it. But a lot of people kind of leave him off the list. They'll take other point guards over him, which personally I don't think is fair to him as a player. But that's just kind of the personality.
But that's all about media painting.
Exactly, right.
And the media is not going to paint you well if you aren't good to the media.
That's what I'm saying. If you're not media friendly, if you're not money friendly, they're not messing with you.
It's not necessarily money friendly. It's just media friendly.
You have to be
It's
above
media
and beyond the second closest player to you for the media just to like suck it up. And even still, it's difficult because even like listen, this whole documentary, ESPN went from being a LeBron central TV station to can LeBron do this? Is LeBron capable of doing that? Ever since the Jordan documentary came out.
I will say this. I don't know if you guys would agree, but I think MJ probably would have burned out quicker if social media was around when he played. I think he would have burned out quicker.
I get what you're saying, just for the fact that, and especially
no, it's one thing for reporters. No, it's one thing for reporters that you like have to answer.
Almar's just having some audio issues,
Yeah, some technical difficulties.
Facts.
But I get what Almar's saying.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, so it's like one thing for like the media, the reporters to have an opinion, but it's like another thing for like random people you will never meet to have an opinion on you. I don't think Jordan would have handled it that well.
Right,
And
and listen, especially after I'm sorry, Jack. Especially after the way how the media basically portrayed his father's death and tried to basically pin it on his gambling issues. Dude, if social media got a hand in that, oh my gosh, it'd be over with.
And I was just going to allude to that a bit. I think you saw in the documentary, it kind of wore on, especially towards the end of his career when, he wins his second three-peat in a row and he gets back to his room and there's 15, 20 reporters just hanging out in his room. I think it got to a point where, he just wanted to live a normal life at that point in his career. And he just couldn't do that because he was Black Jesus. Everybody wanted to see everything he was doing all the time. And that was in an age where news traveled much slower than it does now. So just imagine how it would be with social media. There would be hundreds of people swarming him every single second of every single day. And I think that would get to anybody.
Yeah,
But to be honest, he was kind of like the first, I guess you could say, global superstar in basketball. So I think that kind of had a part to play into it too. Like, if you look at LeBron today or Kevin Durant or Kobe Bryant, like those kind of stars were able to handle it easier today than for example Michael, because Michael was the first one to do it. You know what I'm saying? Now if you were to play today,
teach that now.
Exactly.
They do teach that, but I'm amazed at how LeBron has handled himself like throughout his entire career. There's not been one like off the court blemish to speak of. Everything.
The biggest thing was
the decision was probably his most tone deaf incident in his career, and even that don't generated how much for the Boys and Girls Club that he did it at.
That no one likes to talk about. So
And
even his
listen,
blemishes, they had their benefits.
the
Like
fact that the only quote unquote off the court issue you could really talk about with LeBron is the fact that he opened up a school. It speaks volumes. Like it speaks volumes. So
Right.
listen, there's no doubt that as a person and as like what they've done outside of the game for basketball, I don't feel like there's anybody close to LeBron James. But at the same time, on the court and like within the media's eyes, there's just so much you can literally just there's so much athletes can take. You know what I mean? Like it's just
for sure.
it's
For sure.
like
Being in
in-
that in that spotlight, it has to take a toll
Right.
on it.
and
It has to.
especially like as if you're known as being the guy, like you will literally like how what Jack alluded to earlier as far as Jordan and the 15, 20 media members in his room, like you just want to escape basketball for a half hour. You want to escape literally your job. It's like literally you're coming home from a 9 to 5 job and you're getting home and you're just still hounded and questioned about what you did at work. Meanwhile, like, dude, like I just want to relax. Let me sit back, have a beer, watch some TV. So
You went to play Double-A baseball, and they would have a whole section of stands of reporters there to interview him. So that just goes to show you how this guy could not get away from the spotlight no matter what he did.
should try tap dancing.
There'd have been reporters there too.
There
So,
would've been.
Michael, how did you come up with your first ever tap dance routine?
And the only reason he was in Double A is because those facilities were big enough to accommodate.
To
the media
accommodate.
staff. Yeah, because otherwise he would have.
But people said that his grind was so authentic that he'd have made it up.
Terry Francona
I mean,
said that.
We're talking about Michael freaking Jordan here, though. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
you also got to
surprised.
realize he ain't swing a bat for like how many years?
Right.
I'm not. Here's the thing, though. When it comes to anything athletic, I'm not gonna question Michael Jordan. I don't care if it's basketball, baseball, tennis. If he said in the middle of his for his first retirement, I'm gonna go play tennis for a living, I would have been convinced he could have been able to like make a career out of it because it's Michael.
Athletes at that level are just
It's
they can do
different.
anything. If you give them 3 years, they can be top class in anything they do.
I agree. So sticking with basketball, I do want to get into this new quote unquote playoff format that has been thrown around out there with the basically the 16th ranked team, ranking 16 teams in order without conference, without division, without any sort of separation, just ranking them as far as record. I do want to talk about real quick. Mark Cuban did put in a little suggestion in that the last two teams in each conference plays for the last two seeds. So instead of it being the 1 through 16, how I alluded to before, it would literally still be the Eastern and Western Conference, and seeds 7 and 8 would be like a play-in tournament within the last 4 teams that are available. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that. For the West, it would be the Grizzlies, I think, and the Mavericks. It would be the Blazers and the Pelicans, I believe, would be the 4 over there. The Eastern Conference would be the Nets, the Orlando Magic. I'm going to get the last 2 teams right now. Give me 1 second.
I'll tell you what, those would be some fun series out west.
It would be the Nets, the Magic, the Wizards, and Hornets.
Those would be much less.
Yo, the Wizards and Hornets would be so hilarious, yo.
No, wait, you said the last 8? No, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 7, 8, 9, 10 would try to play in, right?
7, 8, 9, 10 in each conference, yes.
And John Wall said he was 110% healthy. Wow.
Yo,
Yeah.
nah,
Listen,
they don't
okay.
want
story.
So if
I'm
we're
glad
gonna talk about that, the Wizards are getting in playoffs. I'm
Are
sorry.
the Wizards 9?
Yeah, no, you don't want to
Wizards
see
are-
Vengeance Wall.
They are 10, I believe.
Can I-
no,
No,
they're
Wizards
9.
are 9.
They're
Wizards are 9.
I wanted to bring
no,
out.
they're making the playoffs.
So
If
there's
John Wall says he's 110% and he's ready to go, woo, they're in.
Nah,
They-
I'm dead serious. You don't want to see Vengeance Wall. You don't.
So they made a bracket. I don't know if you guys saw it. They did a a left side bracket with what the teams would look like with 16 teams, and then a right side bracket. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'll put it in a chat window. Just by looking at it, on one side we have the Bucks, the Clippers,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
the Celtics, the 76ers, all on one side. The Lakers are going to have to face the toughest team they'll face, the Denver Nuggets. So just from that, I think
That's garbage.
that
That's
would be
garbage.
that would
That's
be
absolutely
like it would
That's a
change.
cakewalk to the finals. No
The
cap.
the Lakers would probably be the most rested and healthy team because they're the toughest competition. They
That's-
face the Rockets and the Nuggets. That's it.
Yeah, and the
I would
Rockets.
argue-
Oh,
I would
God.
argue that the Nets would be tougher if they had KD and Kyrie coming back, which apparently Woj has doubled down and said they are not. So
Right.
that would just be another cakewalk game for them.
I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie
but
to you.
look, if the Lakers face Vengeance Wall, y'all might lose, yo.
I don't know about all
Vengeance John
that.
Wall,
Ra-
man.
Raptors
Vengeance
would
John
be-
Wall
that
is
would be
coming.
Interesting. Hold on.
Nah,
so-
you already know John Wall has the best alter egos. When he's gang sign Wall, he's unstoppable.
hold on.
So I put the screenshot of the playoff format in the chat, what it's looking like, what they were discussing if 16 teams were to enter.
Yeah, I just
So
put
let
it on. I shared the screen now, so
Yeah.
we should be able to see it.
Yeah, so Raptors Grizzlies would be the most interesting first round matchup to me because John Morant
Right.
would go against that Raptors team as a whole. That would be very interesting.
Well,
Another
listen,
I
not
love
for
a lot
nothing,
of these matchups.
That
I'm gonna be honest
As-
with y'all. Y'all might have trouble with the Raptors.
Yeah, I completely ignored the Raptors. The Raptors are going to be a problem. They're a young team. They play a lot of good defense.
They play different.
Right.
listen,
We
we
struggled
can't,
with them when we
we
played
can't
them.
sleep on the Rockets. We
Hold
cannot
on.
sleep on the Rockets.
The
Look,
thing
listen.
is, bro,
look at
you
Hold
got
on,
it.
that
This is
style of play, if they're gonna just shoot threes and layups, is just not gonna be sustainable.
Only
but
if you don't have
making
fresh
them.
legs. Only
you
if
have,
you
you
don't
have
have
to
fresh
understand.
legs.
You have to
but here's the
understand
thing,
once
though,
they.
your shot's not. But here's the thing, though, they take a lot of threes, and your shot's not gonna be there within like 2 weeks of playing. It's just not gonna be
Right.
at
But
mid-season
that-
form.
But they'll get a
That's-
warm up
that's what
like the
I'm-
Jazz. The Jazz is a warm up for me. They just lost Bojan Bogdanovic, who's their second best scorer. So I mean, I think it's pretty much the Jazz are getting swept whoever they play, and if they play the
I don't
Rockets
think they're
anyway.
gonna get
I wouldn't go
swept.
that
At the
far.
same,
I wouldn't go
they're
that
gonna
far.
have a lot of encore issues with the
Turmoil.
whole
Mhm.
With the
a
whole
lot of-
Rudy
just gonna
Gobert
say
and
that.
a lot
Donovan
of
thing.
chemistry issues. So listen.
Oh yeah,
on-
then nah, they might get swept. But
This
then
might-
look, this is what you have to take into consideration. Michael Conley. What Michael Conley do you get? You have
Right.
to take that into consideration.
If you get a fresh Michael Conley that plays like he did in Memphis,
Then it's
you'll
looking
have some
critical.
trouble.
he hasn't showed that though. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be
you're not
honest.
getting-
Yeah, but you
averaging
also
12
got to
points a
realize
game.
he's like their fourth option now.
He's averaging. He was their fourth option. At this
Before
point.
Bogdanovich got hurt.
It's not even
Right.
that. He was their fourth option because he just could not score the ball. If I'm not mistaken, he's literally at his career worst in points per game, in shooting percentage, in
Yeah, he
3-point
is.
percentage. Like
Yeah, he
it's
is.
He's
And
just not
it's-
the
it
same
doesn't seem like a
player.
good
he's
fit.
just
Yeah,
not
but the
good.
thing is that we expected more from him because of what he is. But I'm gonna be honest with you, we expected less from Bogdanovich.
I don't think the Rockets have any problem with the Jazz in the first round.
Right. I think that's.
No,
I don't think
don't
it's a
think so either.
sweep. I don't think it's a
The
sweep.
only to me the X factor in that series is gonna be Rudy Gobert.
Right.
He has the baby Tucker, like baby him.
I'm gonna be
And-
honest. I don't think he
everybody's
might not be
playing.
playable. He might not be playable if they run small ball and just blow him off the floor. He might not be playable. Let's just be honest. Like what
Yeah,
are you gonna do? with
Rudy-
No,
Rudy
but you
Gobert?
have to play him.
As great as Rudy Gobert is as an interior defender, that man cannot guard the perimeter to save
Right.
his life.
No.
Right.
So listen, if you're gonna have Robert Covington or PJ Tucker on either corner of the 3-point line, it's
Covington as
It's
a
over.
4 is a really good option. but
Robert Covington and PJ Tucker are easily the best corner 3-point shooters in the league.
The Rockets might be the most
Something like
intriguing
that.
team in the NBA.
Absolutely.
You know, there's always the probable chance, like Almar said, that they come in and their shots aren't there. And even if it was
No, but I feel like that's
their
applicable
shots
to
aren't
everyone.
falling.
No, I feel like the shots aren't falling is applicable to everyone that shoots a lot of threes, and that's like
Yeah,
in
no,
the entire league now.
And I
So it's
think
like the
that
teams
that's
that
the
are,
higher
like-
that's
Yeah.
the higher probability chance. And I
Yeah.
was saying that before this quarantine happened and during the regular season, I was saying it's just not a sustainable thing to count on if you want to give yourself a good chance at success, because there is the chance that you light on fire and no team in the league can catch up with
Or
you.
you get ice cold and you end
Exactly.
up with 1 or like 0 for 27 or 1 for 27, something dumb like that.
I don't
This will be-
think there's a single team in the league that is as Jekyll and Hyde as the Rockets are. You can get them
Without
on
a
a good
question.
day and
Without a
nobody
doubt.
has a chance of stopping them, or you can get them on a bad day and they're a cakewalk.
Can
And
we
you
talk
have-
about? I'm
you
sorry
have
to
the-
cut you off.
You have real quick. You have
Yeah.
they're literally their 2 leading scorers right now are the 2 most my opinion, most inconsistent players when it comes down to the playoffs in Russell
Oh,
Westbrook
yeah.
and James Harden.
Listen,
No, I feel
So-
like Russ gets his numbers. It's
if you
just the
want to talk
percentages
about
look terrible.
inconsistencies, watch the Clippers versus the Rockets all year this year.
Oh man,
The last game. Look at the last game. How we babied them. Beat them by like 30.
No, but if the Clippers go to small ball, it's actually the best small ball lineup in basketball, arguably.
Yeah, because we got
No doubt.
who is it?
You would have
Is-
Reggie Jackson, Lou
Reggie
Williams,
Jackson, Lou Will, Paul
Kawhi,
George,
PG,
Kawhi, Paul George, and
Montrez.
Montrez.
I have
And
I have a
Trent.
theory about that. I don't think that's a good lineup, and I'm going to tell you why. Give me 1 second. I'm going to explain.
Because you're a
to you why.
Lakers fan.
Well, okay.
Facts.
Reggie
Hold on,
Reggie
like-
Jackson is an inefficient shot chucker. Let's just be honest. That's what he does. He's not a passer.
Reggie
You don't have
Jackson
a
off the
distributor
bench
on that
is
team.
very
Yeah,
efficient.
off the bench he's good, but you're gonna have to play Lou Williams. And if you play Lou Williams, teams will use him like they use Steph Curry. They'll run him through screens. They'll keep switching. That's what the Lakers did in the last matchup against the Clippers. They just put Lou Williams through a
Paul
bunch
George
of
and Kawhi
screens.
Leonard are on this
Yeah, but you
lineup,
also got to
so-
realize Marcus Morris shot 1 of 78. Lou Williams shot 2 of
Hold
64.
on, Quay, thank you as a Knicks fan for giving me a first-round pick for Marcus Morris for about 10 games.
Yeah,
I
that's
really appreciate
unbelievable. I
Nice.
still
Let me know how far that pick gets you.
that. No, it's a
I-
late-round pick.
when y'all
We're in
take-
the lottery
So just-
anyway.
when
We
y'all
just
take
need the additional pick.
Paul
We just need an
Pogba
additional
with
first-round
the
pick.
26th overall
Listen,
pick.
if this is the format, the Lakers have the advantage, and I think they'd be favored
Oh,
because
for
the Clippers
sure.
Clippers
No
are going to
doubt.
run through
swayed
the
towards the
Sixers,
Lakers.
no
It's
doubt.
the
ridiculous.
Celtics and the Bucks. They'd face those potentially
Oh
those
my
3 teams. They
God.
would get that would be tough series after tough series for them, and I don't think they.
I'ma be honest with you.
Ready.
I do not think the Sixers are a tough series.
For the
No, but here's the thing, though. There's no fans in
Bro,
the
the
crowd. so-
Sixers in the offs have yet to show me something that was like, yo, like
Hold on,
I'm
the
scared to
Sixers
face
are
them.
good
The
at home
Bucks go
and bad-
crazy, but you
What?
already
The
seen how
Sixers-
Kawhi get down.
The Sixers were a bounce away from making it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and we see how the Bucks played in that Eastern Conference. I would bet anything I own that the Sixers would have been playing in the finals last
Hold on,
year
here's the
had
thing, though. The
Kawhi not gotten
Sixers-
the best bounce in NBA history.
The Sixers
No, but
home
you
and
gotta
away splits are
realize it was
terrible,
going
let's
into
be
OT.
honest. They're horrible.
I don't
That-
even like the Sixers. I don't even like the Sixers.
I know you don't,
dislike the
but
Sixers.
I don't think if you think the Raptors would have lost in OT to them, I don't believe that.
Who knows?
Bro, this is
Who
you
can
gotta
say-
realize this is the same team that lost to the Heat like 3 times when they were not good.
So
it all
just
really
real
depends
quick,
on Joel Embiid. I mean, he's basically
I mean,
the
different
decider.
teams match up. Like teams match up
Yeah, but-
differently with each other. It's
So
all about the
real
matchups.
quick, just so we get a little bit of order here. Looking at this bracket here, go series by series. We'll go with the first one, Bucks Magic. It's kind of a given there. We'll just
Bucks-
we'll give-
Bucks
yeah, we'll
7-0.
give
Where's my
we'll
broom?
give
I
we'll
need my
give
broom.
our predictions real quick. So
I got the Bucks 7-0.
yeah, honestly, I
Broom.
think we're all in favor of the
4-0,
Bucks.
Broom.
maybe 4-1. Maybe
Broom.
4.
Get the broom.
All right, so now we'll go Lakers Nets.
I think the Lakers might experiment a game or two because they have to add Deion Waiters, so it might be 4-1.
I forgot about Deion
Lakers
Waiters.
right.
in 5.
So
Did he
Lakers
even
in
get
5,
he
right.
didn't get a game in with them, right?
Not yet,
I
not yet.
know.
And he's probably getting his legs back and stuff. So I think I could see an experimental game from the Lakers where they try
Lakers
more
in
Deion.
5.
Yeah,
more
no, I
Bucks.
think the Nets will take one by
Yeah,
accident.
right.
Yeah, if the
5
Nets
games.
are not healthy, if KD and Kyrie are not playing, which it looks like they're not going to,
Right.
Oh, then
that's
4-0.
easy.
Okay.
win.
Lakers in 5 for me.
So Miami.
Wait,
and
time out.
Thunder.
Hold on, wait. Question: the game where the Nets beat the Lakers, right?
Right.
Did
Yeah.
Kyrie play?
No.
No.
I just think
no.
the Lakers kind of like tanked that game because they were. I honestly thought LeBron was trolling at the end too. He missed a couple gimme layups too.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I didn't watch the
That
game.
was a
I was,
bad
lis-
inning.
I was
And
listening
Anthony
to the
Davis
game.
had a game.
Now all I know is that
Yeah.
game cost me a lot of money. So you know what?
Anthony
I
Davis
hate
had
the
a
Lakers, yo.
wide open 3 for
They
the
just came
win.
off of beating the
That
Bucks
was-
and Clippers, so I thought they just kind of like took a break. They were like, all right, let's just take it easy.
You know what's crazy? You know what was wild? I actually don't hate the Lakers.
And the Nets were playing really well before that break.
Right.
All right, so the second game, the second series on the left side, we have Miami and Oklahoma City.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
This is a 7-game
I'm
series
taking
for me.
OKC.
Seven
I'm
game
not gonna lie
series.
to you.
Seven
Yeah,
game
this
series.
this
I
might
got
be
Miami.
this might be the best.
Hold on. I
Which
got
might be
Miami.
my
I
favorite
got
series.
Bam Adebayo.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm
Points
taking OKC.
This got me
Not
excited
bad.
just thinking about it. Like
Ooh.
there's a lot of good matchups.
Hold on.
here.
I'm
Bam
gonna
running-
go with Miami here.
I
in
got
7.
Miami.
Yeah,
I
I'm
got
gonna go
Miami.
Miami here in 7, just for the fact that they're very
Bam.
they're
No,
A
very
2012
Hold on.
rematch.
I respect.
I mean, with
we
totally
respect
different
Bam.
rosters.
We
Two
respect
totally
Bam
different
Bam
teams.
Adebayo. But just like how there was vengeance John Wall, there's vengeance Chris Paul. people's talking down on Cuz.
I mean, he
No,
doesn't have
I go
any beef
down
with
on it.
Miami.
Listen, you have to understand, Miami did add a lot at the trade deadline, and we really didn't see. And they literally almost ended up with Danilo Gallinari as well.
Yeah, no, but if you take Danilo Gallinari off the Heat, then off the Thunder and put him on the Heat,
Well,
it's
no,
a
but
wash.
it's not even that, because now I'm pretty sure the starting five right now for Miami is Kendrick Nunn
Yes.
or Goran Dragic, whoever you want to put.
No,
either
it's
way.
Nunn. It's Nunn.
So Kendrick Nunn, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler.
Tyler Hero's off the bench.
Miami might be
Yeah.
too
Who's
deep
that?
actually.
Jimmy
Now that I
Butler's
think
at
of this.
Jimmy Butler's at the
Wait, too
Duncan
deep in
Robinson
the
is at the
playoffs? You're telling me they're too
Myers
deep?
Yeah,
Leonard's
I
at
think
the
they
four,
might
Wait,
be.
depth
Bam
is
Bam
an
Robinson
issue in the
five.
playoffs. You're
I
kidding
mean,
me, right?
no, wait, Almar, just hear
That's
me out.
even deeper. That's an even deeper bench for Miami. If you have
If you
Tyler Hero
put him-
coming off the bench, that's an even deeper.
Bro,
the
the
best
reason
star
that
on
they
either
No,
team.
the
Mo's
reason they can
saying
get away with
Miami's
that in the
too
playoffs
deep.
is because
Please
Duncan
elaborate.
Robinson's a
No,
strength.
I'm saying too deep for the Thunder. Like they wouldn't be able to match it. The Thunder wouldn't be able to match up with the
Okay.
Heat, right? Like that's what I mean. Like they're just too
Okay.
deep for the Thunder to like.
Yeah,
I think it
but-
might be 6 actually.
No,
they got the
right, but
best
look,
star on both
This is how
teams,
you
too.
gotta. This is how you have to run it down. The two X factors you have is going to be Chris Paul and Jimmy Butler. Obviously, your two stars, right?
Mhm.
But my thing is, what's probably gonna have to happen is they're probably gonna throw Lugens Dort on Jimmy Butler because Lugens Dort probably plays the best defense out of all these cats.
Barbecue chicken.
It's
I'm
I'm not gonna say that's barbecue chicken.
No,
because
Lucas Dort plays decent
for the
defense.
He play,
No,
I
not
haven't
yet.
watched
Well,
too much
that-
of his film.
and
How
for the
good is he on
simple
defense?
fact
Like,
that-
how good is he on defense?
he's not elite, obviously, but you got to also think of this for the simple fact: Jimmy Butler does not shoot anymore.
right.
His game is
It's-
starting to
it's
become
beyond
somewhat
Jimmy
sort of
Butler, though.
not one-dimensional, but as a scoring, if he's not inside the three-point line, he's not taking the shot.
I think Miami's
He
better
has the-
defensively too.
He hasn't been looking to score the ball this year. He's been
all.
letting
Listen,
the
with that, I'm
offense
telling you.
run so much.
With that Miami team,
I mean,
he
they
didn't
have
to
the
score.
offense running through Bam out of bio basically as their point guard.
We should probably
such a
segue into
mismatch.
the next because we could argue with this for like.
Yeah,
I gotta say, I love this series. This might be my
that's
favorite
the most
series in
entertaining
the
first round
whole
series to me.
bracket. I think that this would definitely go 6, if not 7. I would personally take the Heat, but my one concern for the Heat, even though it is also a concern for the Thunder, although not to as much of an extent as the Heat, is youth. Because you look at a lot of or at least 3 of the impact performers for the Heat right now, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kendrick Nunn, all 3 of them are rookies. And then beyond that, you have Bam Adebayo, who's still in his younger
Like his
years
third
in the
year.
league. So that's 4 of your top guys.
Bam
on the
Adebayo is
roster
also a first-year
who-
starter.
Yeah. So that is my one concern for the Heat, but I would still go with the Heat in that series just because, like Mo said, they're just too deep for the Thunder at this point. But the fact that the Thunder are in this spot right now,
They
I don't
were
even
giving
want
up
to-
It's
a
ridiculous every year.
0.4% chance of making the offs.
I don't even want to see them 3 or 4 years from now.
They're going to be disgusting.
Well, I mean, they have about 30
Every
of.
pick in
Yeah,
the
they
league
have
for the
they
next
have
I
30
give a
picks
lot
in the
of-
next
hold
4
on,
years.
I give a lot of credit
30.
to Chris Paul.
Try like
in leading
78.
in leading OKC.
facts.
A lot of
Almar.
No, this was his showing. Like, I still got it, yo. He
One of
literally
the
got.
greatest point
he's
guards
doing-
of all time.
He's doing so good that the Knicks are on line 1. They
It
need
was-
him.
That was not a surprise.
horrible move
That was
for the
hold on. We will save that discussion for another day.
All right, so moving on to the next series, we'll go back on the right side. The Jazz and Rockets.
Waste of my time. Rockets in 12. They're gonna drill him.
Yeah,
12-0.
I mean, I think it's all like it's understood here just for the fact that Utah's gonna have a lot of chemistry
Yeah.
issues.
I mean, I don't
And
know.
they're missing Bogdanovich and
And
could
Joe
be
Ingles.
missing Joe Ingles.
And Joe Ingles. And Joe
hold on,
Ingles.
the one thing that concerns
Oh
me
yeah, if they
about
lose Uncle Joe, it's
Yeah.
wraps. It's wraps.
Okay, if they lose Uncle Joe, then yeah, it's gonna be an easy series for Houston. But the thing about Houston that's always concerning is that they're so inconsistent game to game. You don't know what you're getting.
Almar, can
Yeah,
I
but the
can I
thing
just
is-
counter what
yeah.
you're saying real quick? I have the perfect counter to this. The reason the Rockets got tired, like we just saw them get tired because they lost their legs. Shooters lose their legs. You just got this 2-month rest period.
No,
You're
but
gonna
here's
be
the
fresh.
thing.
They'll be
You
ready to
need
go.
No, but you need to be in rhythm to take those shots. You need
Almar,
to be in
the
rhythm.
best way to get in rhythm is to play multiple games in a row against the same team, and that's what
Yeah,
they're going to be
but
able to
those
do.
are like but that's why you
Yes,
build
but
up
you
into
do
mid-season
realize
form.
that rhythm that you speak of playing multiple games in a row, they shot 1 for
That's out the
27
window.
games.
That's out the fucking window.
Listen, I think they're rested. We just saw
No,
them get
but you're
tired
out
of
of
the small ball.
rhythm.
This is not going to be a close matchup, in my
No.
opinion. This will not be a close matchup. It's just because you're
It's
out
not
of
going to be a close matchup because of who they're playing. If you
Right.
put them in a lot of different matchups, They're getting smoked.
That's a hard
honestly, you put them
series.
against
It's
any other team.
any other team.
They're getting smoked. But there's
And-
only like 5 teams on here that I would really take them over.
And I think that the fact that they went out and got Russell Westbrook this offseason makes a big difference in a situation like this as opposed to Chris
This is
Paul,
true.
because Chris Paul was not as good of a fit for this kind of situation as Russell
Hey, 'cause
Westbrook,
Chris Paul does
playing
not
as well as he's
shoot.
played this season. Yeah, Chris Paul is more of a
And all
facilitator.
Russ does is shoot.
Russell Westbrook, though, if the shots aren't falling, that man is attacking the basket at will.
This is
And
true.
that's
This is
one
true.
thing that James Harden needs to learn from him. He needs to learn to defer to other parts of his game.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you see more of that out of James Harden if the shots aren't falling.
I mean,
because
James Harden
Harden's
is
been
elite
burnt by that.
attacking to the basket. It's mind-boggling to me that he does not do it more often.
He should be going. He goes to the foul
When
line
James
so
Harden
much
was-
that he doesn't even drive to the basket hard.
When James Harden was at his best, and he was not getting these garbage free throws, even though
He was
you got to
actually
respect
earning
it.
these free throws.
He was averaging 34 or whatever and was not getting free throws. And was not getting his free throws. He was going to the basket. He was killing people from the midi. He was taking his corner threes. He was driving and doing all that. But he just stopped doing that.
So just to sum it up, who are we going
Rockets
with
at
in the
5.
series here?
I'm taking
Rockets
the
at 5.
Rockets
in
without
5.
a
Rockets at 5.
Okay. So next series we'll go back on the left side, Celtics and Sixers. This will
the best series. To me, this is the best
I
series.
love
This is gonna
this.
be interesting. This is gonna be very interesting. I'm gonna go Boston.
Oh yeah,
here. As
fights
much as I
will
hate
break
it-
out.
As much as I would hate it, I'm gonna go Boston here.
I'm gonna-
God,
I'm taking Boston.
I'm taking
I'm-
Boston again. I'm going off of depth.
I'll be different. I'll
Other
go.
than the starting 5, Philly does not have depth at all.
I wouldn't go.
Mike Scott, and Glenn Robinson III is gonna come off the bench. Shake Milton.
But to be
had-
fair,
Hold on, do they have
Boston's
Thybulle
some-
coming off the bench or
You
starting?
realize they have Alec Burks, right?
They do have Alec Burks.
We've seen what Alex Burks can do in a regular season. We've never
Alec
seen,
Burks also was averaging like 18 a game.
again
Shake
Wait,
on the,
Thybulle
on the Golden State
starting or
Warriors.
coming
On
off
the
the
Golden
bench?
State Warriors. So
Is
you have to
Thybulle-
understand that he had an average 18 points a game. That's the
All right,
same.
my fault. Let me ask you a question. Him play for the Golden State Warriors made the ball go in the basket.
Him getting the shots. You could see the same. You could talk the same way about Marcus Morris with the Knicks averaging 19 points a game, then going to the.
Yes, but
the
Marcus
Clippers.
Morris's career trajectory is literally what he's doing. He starts off hot and gets cold. It's very simple.
Again, he was
Alec
the number
Burks
one
on
option
the
on team.
Jazz, when they were a playoff team, was an 18-point per game scorer. He had this in his body. He does this.
I don't think that the Celtics are that deep either, to be honest. And I
No,
think that
I don't think so
this is such an intriguing matchup. And I've been
Here's the
saying
thing, though. Who's Ben Simmons guarding in this series? Is it Tatum?
It doesn't
It's gotta
matter.
be Tatum. It's gotta
It doesn't
be Tatum.
matter.
He's locked up.
And this is
He's
and
locked.
this
No,
is-
that's what I'm saying. He's locking up whoever.
This is
Yeah,
what
nah,
I've
yeah.
been
He's,
saying all
you're
year.
probably gonna have to put him on their X.
All
sure.
year long, I've been saying this, and I have gotten into multiple arguments with, I know Hasham and Evan have both been upset at me for saying this. The 76ers are a nightmare matchup for the Celtics because,
They have a guy that could guard their best player.
yeah, they
But
have
we
Joel.
guard 1 through 9, bro.
They have
It don't
Joel
matter.
Embiid, they have Al Horford, they have Tobias Harris, Jason
But the
Richardson,
thing
and
is,
Ben Simmons in their starting lineup. All of those guys are over 6'9".
Oh, and Thybulle is a lockdown
long
defender if they
wingspans.
start him.
And they have
Matthias
Matisse
Thybulle is
Thybulle.
a monster on defense.
How
but they're
are-
probably not
how
gonna
are they
start because they're probably gonna have
possibly
Josh Richardson, who's locked down.
He's locked down also.
Is he
They
healthy?
have-
Is he healthy? Because
Yeah.
he was hurt. He was
Yeah.
hurt.
Good question. That's
2
a good
months.
question.
He'll be
How-
valid.
2 months.
How are they
be valid.
possibly matching up in this series? Tell me who is guarding at the 4 and 5. Because you have – who are you playing at the 4? Jason Tatum, who
They probably
cannot
might put
guard
Jason
Al
Tatum at the
Horford or
4.
Joel Embiid. And
But the
then
thing
at
is,
the 5,
it matters how
they'll have
Horford
Enes
plays.
Kanter or Daniel
Well,
Price.
at the
And
same-
Horford
those
has
listen,
been
guys can have-
bad.
We,
In
yeah,
fairness, Horford has been
we
bad.
can't forget Horford was taken out of the starting lineup for Korkmaz. So
Yeah, because Forkin Korkmaz is a strap.
And he adds a great piece to that starting lineup, which
A
you don't
straight
find
shooter.
almost anywhere else on that roster, which is
So
he
here's the
can
thing
knock
about
down a shot if you
Philly.
need it.
Philly can go small. Philly can go big. They can shape
Yes,
shift whoever they
Philly.
play against.
Philly has a lot of. Philly right now is like a transformer. Like you could, however they need to go, you could get it. You want the car, you want the transformer, how you want it.
And
They can play
here's
it.
the funny part. Even if they go big, they're not exactly slow when they go big.
No,
Their
because
big
Al
line is
Horford
really athletic.
Al Horford and Joel Embiid actually run the floor very well.
And even Tobias
Your point
Harris,
guard's 6'10".
Ben Simmons, and Jason Richardson are all basically guard types in forward type bodies.
It's ridiculous.
Yo, Yo, I think I lied. No, I might take the Sixers. Yo, they
I
actually
got Sixers and 6.
Hey, yeah, they're
And
actually a little diff.
I have
I
Sixers and 6.
dislike the Sixers. I have been saying all year long, I've been saying it since last season, they have one of the most potential great teams in basketball. If they can put it together and they can figure out how to play with each other and knock down their shots, they could be the best team in basketball because they are so difficult to match up with.
I respect that.
Honestly, and the only reason why, not to cut you off, real quick, the only reason why I can honestly consider them to be one of the best teams in basketball is if Ben Simmons trusts his shot.
100%.
Like, listen, if
100%.
Ben Simmons gets even a 15-foot jump shot,
if Ben Simmons gets a
15-foot jump shot,
step out.
it's different. It's over. So
yeah, no, if Ben Simmons actually takes a jump shot.
Again, I'm still going to go.
This is what I'm thinking about with the Sixers. They're playing in a neutral site, and they have one of the worst home and away splits ever.
Yeah, I was just about to.
What team are you getting?
Right.
Like,
Probably-
what are you getting? If you think about it,
I
they're
think they're gonna get
technically
the
away,
happy.
right?
No, you're getting the happy
They're
medium.
technically
That's what
away.
you're
If
getting.
you're getting away Sixers, they're losing 4-0.
I feel like you're getting the happy medium, Kawhi. I feel like you're gonna get the middle ground of that. Of the great home team and terrible away team.
Series though, this left side of the bracket, save for the
lit.
top matchup, is going to be incredible if this ends up happening. I would kill to see this series. This would be a great series. Personally, I'm going Sixers in 7, but I could also see the Celtics winning in 6.
Yeah, I got Sixers and 6.
I'm sticking with my gut. I do feel like the Celtics will wind up picking the series out last second. Again, we're gonna go back on the right side here. Nuggets and Pacers. Nuggets and Pacers. Listen, if Victor Oladipo can come back healthy, and come back,
he would be the best guard in. No, he would be the best guard in this series to me. But
yeah, you could argue that, but I mean,
best two-way guard for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Without a doubt.
That's why I was.
It'll be a very interesting series just to see how they somehow play Oladipo, because who's really going to guard Oladipo if he can come back somewhat close to who he is?
If it's Jamal Murray, it's a long series for Jamal Murray.
And at the same time, and you basically have a baby Oladipo on the Pacers with Malcolm Brogdon, because we can't forget about Malcolm Brogdon, who is.
I wouldn't call him baby Oladipo. He's just solid.
He's solid on defense. He will, if you give him the lane, he's taken to the lane. He's a solid jump shot.
Malcolm
Brogdon is a very slept-on player.
Yes. My only question is, down low, Sabonis is not a plus defender, and Miles Turner has been less than normal this season.
Yeah, but the thing is, Miles Turner is elite defender.
Mobile.
But at the same time, Miles Turner went from being in the beginning of the season an ultimate dark horse to a guy who just looks like he's one-dimensional. He's a one-dimensional player.
Yeah, he just doesn't put together his offense.
Is he gonna?
But in this series, his best dimension will need to be.
But you gotta realize, Jokic there's something wrong with him. He's fat, all right, and
they're not playing in Denver though, so the air is not.
We're not playing in Denver. We are not playing in Denver.
You're playing in
Denver,
Orlando.
Playing in Denver.
So wait, what you're saying is Jokic is fat and he's in Orlando. Oh man.
I don't. That's a really tough.
I'll be honest with you. I'm taking the Pacers, and I'm taking the Pacers because I've said this once, I've said this twice, I've said this 3 times. The Nuggets are the most overrated team in basketball. I promise.
I don't know. I like the Nuggets.
The Nuggets are a great regular season team.
The Nuggets are not a championship team.
Bro, they lose so many games, bro, that are so easy to win.
The Nuggets are not a championship team, but I like their depth.
No, but Indiana's a really tough matchup, especially in the first round for them. I have Indiana also, but I have Indiana at 6.
I'm gonna go with Denver. I'm gonna go with Denver in a close 6-game series. I feel like every single game will be a nail-biter. I do feel like the Nuggets will get the advantage, and obviously for the 6 games. The depth just does come into play. The youth, because you can't forget. Denver does have a solid
Michael
team.
Porter Jr.
If he gets a chance to play, I personally feel like he's a little overhyped just for the fact that people are crediting him for 11 minutes a game.
I don't
but
think
you
so.
know,
giving him 11.
I'm not backing that one.
He's capable
of
doing a lot. Yes, but at the same time, he's playing 11 minutes a game. It's hard to prove what you could do in 11 minutes a game. So I don't
But
want to.
he's had that extra recovery time now.
At the
Yeah,
same-
but that's
Still being
if,
on Mitch
I don't even know who's
restriction.
even coaching the Nuggets anymore. But it's if he decides to actually trust him. Like he needs to stop. Like I mean, they put a high
It's
draft
Mike
pick on him.
Malone, no?
Is that still Mike Malone?
I believe it's still Mike
I
Malone.
wanted,
if I'm
yeah, I
not
want to
mistaken.
say.
So I know it's not George Karl.
I almost said George Karl.
That's why I almost said George Karl too, and I was like,
Yo,
wait.
Melo ain't on this Denver team. It's not Melo, Kenyon Martin, Allen Iverson, or Chauncey Billups or whatever that team was.
Mike Malone does a
Not
really nice job, though. I
does.
think he
He's
does
a
a
really
nice job
good
in
coach.
Denver. And I just feel like their superstar is Jokic, and I don't think Jokic is a championship superstar, if that makes sense. But still,
I
in this
agree.
series,
He's
I'm gonna say
Jokic is a good number 2.
yeah,
He'd be a great number 2.
Yeah,
I'm
because
gonna say Nuggets
Jokic
in
doesn't score
6.
that much.
Nuggets in 6.
Jokic prefers
I
to.
just got Mo back. Mo, do you have anything for this?
I agree. I think Nuggets in 6. I think the
yeah.
Pacers are still really young. Nuggets just probably have more experience. They've done a couple playoff series and they were pretty close with some good teams. So I think the Nuggets in 6.
If the Pacers had a healthy Oladipo, I would definitely be much
That's
more
the-
inclined.
Right.
That's the biggest question of this
Pacers.
series. Is Oladipo 100%?
Yeah.
We haven't seen
I'll
him
go-
like
yeah,
full percent
exactly.
yet. Yeah.
This year, not at all.
No.
And listen,
No.
I was coming into the season with a healthy Oladipo. I have him as the second best 2 guard in the league. Yes, I get a lot of crazy looks out of that, but a healthy Victor
What?
Oladipo,
What?
yes.
Wait,
listen,
you mean two-way, right? You mean two-way.
the second best shooting guard in basketball, in my
That's
opinion.
Wait, hold on, wait.
Wow.
That's
Hold
over
on.
Klay
James?
Thompson.
Yes,
James
I have
Harden
him over
is
Clay.
over
I
Klay
have him over.
Thompson.
I
Over
had
Klay Thompson.
my list was
Yo, I'm not gonna lie to you. This
My top fi- my
two
top
did
5
not
list.
sink in until I realized.
my top 5 list was coming into this season with a healthy Victor Oladipo, the same Victor Oladipo that we saw in his first year in Indiana, was James Harden, Victor Oladipo, Klay Thompson, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker.
You have
That was my 5.
That is.
I'm be
Yes.
honest with you. I got
Take
Devin
if I've
Booker
ever
the
heard
third
of
best shooting guard in the league, but that's me.
I mean, listen, Devin.
I'm sorry, I'm not picking either of them over Bradley Beal.
Devin
I got
Booker.
Bradley Beal at 3.
But Devin Booker and
Exactly.
Bradley Beal this year alone just took 2 astronomically huge steps. Where
Yeah.
no. In fact, Levine made a leap.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah, he's in
not,
the comp
he's
again
not,
there.
he's not top. He could be in a conversation for like right outside the bubble, but he's not top 5 too.
I agree.
Yeah,
that
Yeah, I don't
he's
think
in the
he's top
discussion.
5. Like you
I
gotta
don't think
nail that down.
No, he's not nailed that down top 5, but he's made a leap.
Oh,
Like you
absolutely.
can
for
put him in
sure.
the conversation.
And at the
For
same,
sure.
but at the same time, again, I'm gonna play devil's advocate and say he's made that leap because he has to. Because who else is on that Chicago team? Lauri Markkanen.
Markkanen.
Listen, Lauri Markkanen
He
is
took a
good.
step back.
That man
Markkanen took a
cannot
step
play
back.
defense to save his life.
Now watch.
He got very inconsistent. Listen, I like Lauri Markkanen a lot. I'm not.
He's
gonna
also
say I
had
don't.
his touches cut in half.
Yes.
this season.
Thank you.
Because Jim
Because you
Boylan
know
has
why?
no clue
He
what he's
is.
doing.
You know who his coach is? Jim Boylan, the
He's a-
worst coach maybe of
And-
NBA history.
And I don't know if you guys saw the quote today, but just since we're talking about it, Jim Boylan, well, Lauri Markkanen said that he talked to Jim Boylan during the season about his touches and how they got cut in half. And he said, if you want the ball, focus on getting defensive rebounds, which is just a totally asinine comment to make. That sounds like
you can't
something
run a
you
set.
expect.
You can't run sets for him.
Disrespectful.
What are we doing?
The fact that he is still coaching that team is an indictment of how bad
Well,
the
the new ownership, not ownership, the new like GM in that they want Boylan out ASAP.
Well,
I would
listen,
too. That would be my first move.
Hit me out soon enough.
As of right now, your franchise piece is Zach LaVine. You invested $80 million into Zach LaVine. The fact that he is visibly unhappy on the court with Jim Boylan, and at the same time, your second and third best players are in their third and first year.
Carter Jr.
Their third and that's a whole different story. But your second and third best players are a third year player and a rookie respectively. And
That boy Kobe White, tough.
even they look like they're just unhappy playing basketball. That's just
They have
speaking
so
volumes.
much potential on that roster,
A
though.
lot.
Yo, think about it. If I told you at the beginning of the year that the Hornets would be better than them, how crazy did you think that I would be?
I laughed like
I would
But
laugh.
listen, but at the same time,
what?
speaking on the Hornets, nobody saw this Devontae Graham massive leap.
Oh,
Okay.
MIP probably.
That is also true. But even with a Devontae Graham leap, you did not see them being the 10th seed. Let's
No,
be
not
honest.
at all.
Just Devontae Graham has been great. the Bulls'
And
front
he's
office and
inconsistent.
coaching staff has been horrible.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
So
Like,
what's the
honestly,
next
I think-
series? I'm sorry to cut you off, David. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to end this whole Bulls point, I think like the Bulls are a perfect example of good individual talent, just terrible leadership and terrible
Right.
coaching.
Terrible.
And it just goes to show you how much coaching matters. in the NBA.
Exactly. So again, we're gonna
And a
move on.
competent front office.
We're gonna move on to the last series on the left side, Clippers and Mavericks.
4-1.
4-1. I'm gonna go
4-2.
Clippers.
I got
But I'm
4-2.
gonna be very honest. Not even no Clippers bias. If you've ever watched the Clippers play the Mavericks, we literally drill them to a
Mismatch.
4-1.
Listen, and
I can
Luca has an issue with the wings, like
Yeah, he
Paul George and
does.
Kawhi. He
Lot
just
of
has it. He can't do anything.
Luca has
No,
an
he
issue
can't.
with defense. Period.
That is also
I'm gonna
true.
be honest.
Because
Luca.
I was
Luka-
actually talking about on the offensive
Little
end.
fat. He's
No,
little
on the
fat.
offensive end, Luca has
Yeah,
a hard
Luka-
time
Luka,
scoring
when you watch
on
the
either
games-
Paul George or Kawhi Leonard.
He
and
was
he's got
having
to
a
Yeah,
go
hard
Kawhi
with
time
Leonard's
just
meant to
penetrating.
baby him.
Yeah,
This
Luka
is
was having a
about-
hard time just
no.
penetrating the paint. Like, right.
This is about as bad of a matchup that you can get if you're the
For-
Mavericks.
hold
Because
on.
they have
Yeah,
two of the best
listen,
wing
the
defenders
only
in
player-
basketball.
To
Facts.
comment on Dallas real quick, for a 7'3" guy to average less than 10 rebounds, and he's super athletic, what does that say about your? What does that say about him?
I think that's more how they
No,
use him.
I think that's
Well,
more
that-
just
yeah, that's his
They don't
style.
believe in
Porzingis.
posting him up.
That's his place. I can't fault Porzingis for that.
I-
Honestly, though, what I could fault Porzingis with though is the fact that other than being a tremendous shot blocker, there's not much else to his defense, and I've noticed that a lot this year.
He cannot defend the perimeter.
Yeah, he can't
That's a
defend.
mismatch.
He literally is like Rudy Gobert with a jump shot.
I'm gonna be honest though, a lot of bigs really can't do that. There's very few like Joel Embiid
I was
and
just about
Anthony
to say
Davis.
that. There's not many bigs
They're
that
like
really
two,
guard
maybe.
the perimeter
I
like
know
that.
I can't put it against them, but it is something in this series to note because the Clippers do play quite small.
Right.
Yeah,
No, I think this is a
think
mismatch
that-
issue, like Jack said.
I think at most the Mavericks take maybe 2, and that's if
Yeah,
Luka has
yeah.
an
No,
incredible series.
I got LA
I
4-2.
don't
I
even
got
think
LA 4-2.
I don't even think in that series Luka would be like the guy. I honestly think it would be Porzingis, just for the fact that he
Porzingis
has
would cause
He
issues
would
with
have
his
to be.
size.
He'd be the X factor for
exactly. He's the
He would
guy.
have to
If
Literally,
Porzingis has a good
From-
series, this could be a really hard series for
from
Clippers.
watching his game over the last 3.5 years,
Progressively more perimeter oriented.
not even that. His ability just to shoot over somebody who's under 6'10" is just tremendous. Like that
Yeah,
man will
he's like
literally.
7 foot.
It's shooting
will-
over a chair because he's
Like
shooting
KD.
with
Yeah.
3.
He will,
like
he will get the ball
7'11".
at the free throw line. He will turn around, look at
So
his
he's
defender in
always
the
open.
face, and shoot the ball. So it's
We have to consider two things too. No fans, and there's a lot of rest that we're gonna see some players step up that we don't normally see be better. Because
Yeah,
I think not having the
because-
fans is a
because
big
the
thing.
fans
Hardaway
are getting into
Jr.
their noggin.
Right.
don't sleep
the
on
thing
Tim
is,
Hardaway Jr. in a
I-
series like this.
Right.
Yeah, but Tim
Tim
Hardaway
Hardaway's
Jr.
so
should
high
play for the
gold.
Rockets because that's
No.
how consistent he is.
All right.
Isn't it crazy that he was the second best player in that trade package?
Not for nothing though. He's playing very.
Nah, he's
well
been
for the-
balling
for
this
the
year. I'm not
Mavericks.
gonna
Yeah,
hold
he's
you.
been playing very well.
I
for the
don't
Mavericks
think
this year.
anybody saw that happening, but that was a great trade by the Mavericks. Give him a lot.
I'm a Tim Hardaway fan. I like Tim Hardaway. I
I
like
like Tim Hardaway, but
I was upset when we traded him the first time. I
the
wasn't
second
as
time
upset.
I was very indifferent about trading him.
I
was
No,
wasn't
you
as
traded y'all
upset.
traded him to Atlanta or he left.
We traded him to Atlanta for the pick that we drafted Jerry and Grant with, who we all know how that turned
that
out.
was a bust.
I
That
also
was a-
gotta say
Yeah,
Seth
no.
Curry. Seth Curry could be a factor in this series too. I just think the Clippers would be just
Right.
too physical for them. The
Yeah.
Mavericks aren't
No, the
physical
guard.
enough.
No, it depends on which guard is guarding Seth Curry. Depends.
It doesn't
I
matter.
really
Pat
like
Bev
it
the
doesn't
Mavericks.
matter.
Just put
I
Pat
really
Bev on
like
him.
the Mavericks.
Oh,
I
he'll
just
probably-
don't think that they're there yet. I think that
This
they're
is just a
They're
bad
couple years.
matchup.
They're a
If you
year or
put
two
Pat
away.
Bev on Seth Curry, bro, all he's gonna do is say you're not better than your brother, and it's done up.
Listen, the Mavericks are that one piece away from being a
They need another
legitimate title
star. If they
contender.
get Beal, it's raps.
They're not gonna
Yeah.
get Beal.
They're not
and
going to get Beal.
Luka-
But
and Luka
Yeah, but I'm
keeps
saying,
progressing.
like they're trying to get after Beal. Like their head is in the right spot.
That would be
That
awesome
Harrison
in my
Barnes
opinion.
nonsense.
they're
I'm
in that
excited to
position.
see how they develop that team.
They're in
For
that.
sure.
They're in a
Rick
good
Carlisle's
position.
there too, championship coach.
Yeah, exactly. But again, the Mavericks are in a good position where like they need
They're a
that
year or
one
two away to
piece.
me. So
They need that one piece, but it really doesn't. Like you can't really put your head like on what.
Or their
piece
one
it
piece
is
is
that
I'm gonna
they
be
need.
honest
there.
with you. If
The
they
one
get
piece-
Andre Drummond, that'd be a perfect fit.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
excellent for sure.
yeah,
That's
Exactly.
perfect.
Again, that's that one piece. It really doesn't matter if you get that one star player, no matter the position.
And
They're an
Andre
instant title
Drummond's a free
contender.
agent coming up this year.
Yeah, well, I honestly feel he's going to resign with the Cavs.
I also think Luka. It's important for him to take a step as a 3-point shooter because he's inefficient to say the least as a 3-point shooter. I know he takes a lot, but he needs to take a step in that category
Yeah,
too.
You are correct.
So
Yes.
going into the last series, and this will be actually a very fun series to watch as well. The very young Memphis Grizzlies, who are probably one of the most exciting teams to watch in basketball,
Yes, sir.
against the most exciting veteran team to watch in basketball, in the Toronto Raptors.
I'll be honest with you.
Raptors in 4.
You're tripping. I wouldn't go that far.
I like
I
Raptors
love
in 6.
Ja Morant with all my heart. Y'all know that I am a fiend level Ja Morant fan. The Raptors are winning 5.
I really
Raptors in
like
5.
Memphis. I think the Raptors are
Raptors in
100%
5.
winning this series. Like you said, it will be a very fun series, and the Grizzlies are going to be another one of those teams. I mentioned it with, I think, the Pacers. I mentioned it with the Mavericks, and there was one other team that I
The
said.
Bulls, but they weren't in the.
I think maybe OKC or the Bulls.
The Bulls and the Heat and the Thunder, I all said this for, they are going to be so much fun to watch over the next 2 or 3 years. You look at Ja, who has been incredible this year. Jaren
He
Jackson
should be the
Jr.
rookie of the year. Let's
has
just get that out there right
developed
now.
really well.
Oh yeah,
should be
facts.
the
If they
rookie
start
of
the
the
season down like this, Zion should not even have a chance.
And look
Yeah.
at the rest of their team and the way they developed. Brandon Clark had a really solid rookie year. That was a great pick for them. Dylan Brooks is a guy who I don't think anybody expected this
Dylan
type
Brooks
of
has been
production out of.
solid.
He's
been
a
really good for them.
Strap.
They got a lot of nice pieces there. Taylor Jenkins has done a spectacular job with that team this year.
Don't forget about Valanciunas, yo.
Yeah, and Valanciunas.
Just about to say
Nobody
that.
expected
Right.
that team to do this season, and although I don't think they have a chance in this series, I think the Raptors are just too good, and they have that championship pedigree from last season.
Right.
I think that the Grizzlies are going to be a great team down the road.
Absolutely, I completely agree with Jack said, but I just personally, I think this is kind of like the Clippers Mavs series. This just looks like a mismatch to me. I don't think Ja's ready for that playoff atmosphere yet, or that playoff level intensity. Kyle Lowry, I think, is just gonna completely own him in that series. No disrespect to Ja, I just don't think it'll.
Ja is not like some lockdown defender. You feel me?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, Kyle Lowry is one of
Kyle
the best
Lowry gonna get
defenders.
his.
Yeah,
Ball God's gonna get his. You already know how
right.
we feel
And
about
then I
Ball.
don't
No,
think
but
they
I feel
have an
like
answer
Ja's
for
gonna get his
Pascal.
in this series. I feel like
Oh,
Ja
no,
will
Ja
get
gonna
his.
get after. Ja's gonna put up like 25 a game. I promise you.
They
Kyle
don't
Lowry's fat.
they,
You're not staying with him.
they don't have an answer for Pascal though either. I think that'll just
Oh,
be
no.
another issue as
No,
well.
but the thing about
But to
Pascal
be
that's
honest,
so,
I see a lot of Pascal and Brandon Clark.
Yes, that's what I was going to allude to.
That's a good
Yes.
comparison.
Pascal
point, Clay.
the
Siakam.
thing about Pascal, I think I don't know if I told this to David or if I told this to Jack, but Pascal gets a lot of his buckets within the flow of the offense. It's not like he's a star player that you have to run like a
Pascal
lot of pick and roll sets
Pascal
or
Siakam,
isolations.
he's very good at just getting open.
Yeah,
Right.
he
Getting
should
offensive rebounds
does
too.
his
He's
job
a good
very
offensive
efficiently.
rebounder.
And one more point that I wanted to make, and it's something that Mo just alluded to, and the playoff atmosphere getting to Ja, that's one thing that I think will play much less of a factor this season, just
Right.
because the playoff atmosphere is going to be
fans.
so much different.
There's
Look
no
at,
fans.
go back to Game 7 last year in Toronto when Kawhi gets that shot to fall.
Oh my
Take
god.
away the crowd in the Scotiabank Arena, and that is a totally different game,
Different.
in my
Oh,
opinion.
man.
I mean, you cannot disregard the impact that fans have on the game, and to have that taken away, I think it's going to play a role in
That-
I feel like
a
it's
lot
gonna-
of these
it's-
series.
It's
Just-
gonna play a role in a lot of underdogs.
For that
Yeah,
shot, I
I-
just want
I
to say
totally
it might
agree.
not be the best shot ever, but I thought that was the greatest moment ever. Like just what happened with the bounce and like the fans and
Incredible.
everybody. It was awesome, like to watch.
Whoever
Listen,
did the
that-
audio by the rim,
Yo, I remember.
great
Yo,
job.
that's one of those plays where you remember exactly where you were.
Right.
Bro,
where you were.
I really remember off the top of my head, bro. I was at Montclair State University bowling up, and there was 4 minutes left, and I was like, yo, I'm not playing this game. And I sat there and seen that. Oh man, I lost.
I wanted them to lose so bad. I was like, yes, Kawhi's gonna lose. He's gonna come to the Lakers. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, I wanted them to lose too. I was
Right,
like,
yeah.
coming to the Clippers, yo. It's that time. I mean, we
Yeah.
got him anyway, so
For sure.
So
we got him anyway.
just to end this
Oh,
segment
man.
here, this is basically what the proposed new playoff bracket will look like.
Hopefully
Up
we
to
get it.
16.
I
It's
would like
interesting.
this.
Yeah, it's
I would
very
like
interesting.
this.
Another thing I mentioned to David was they're also thinking about making it kind of like a World Cup group stage kind of thing, where there would be a tier 1 with the 4 teams. Bucks, Lakers, Clippers, and I think it was the Nuggets, I believe. Those would be the top 4, and then they'd be the leaders of their group, and then they would base the other teams based on records within their groups. I would kind of be interested in that idea as well.
And
I thought it'd be cool.
I also read along with that idea, the tier 1 teams would draft the rest of their group.
Oh, wow.
Is the one part of that really caught my attention.
Now, that's
interesting.
Because usually
Very
those bum
strategic.
teams
Very
are fun.
You just choose.
And
I mean, you
and
just pick the
that'll-
best matchups for you. You know what
and
I'm saying? Like,
that'll basically give you like that extra. If you're one of the teams picked, that's an extra chip on your shoulder. Oh, they picked us because they think they could beat us.
right.
So
And I mean, you look at some situations like, just for sake of conversation, if the Nets had Kyrie and KD coming back, granted they're the 15th seed, I might rather play a team like the Thunder or the
I'd
Mavericks.
rather play like Indiana or something.
Although they're a better seed, there's much less firepower there. It opens the door for those options where, you could bring in matchups into play and stuff like that.
listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. Even if the Nets did have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, I don't feel like they would make it out of the second round.
I think they lose to the Lakers if they have this. I don't think because they're not ready. I don't think.
Against
like,
They don't have
Yeah.
chemistry.
yeah.
Against the
Exactly.
Lakers, I
That's
agree.
my only
Well,
view.
what-
The
like,
chemistry,
what-
the
what-
fact
what are you
that a
gonna
lot
do?
of them were unhealthy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you think they build chemistry? They watch Netflix shows together? Like, it's not gonna work like that. You feel me?
Yeah. They need a coach too. There's still a lot of things missing.
Yeah,
like
facts.
for the
They don't
Nets,
have
for
a
the
coach.
foundation.
Don't they have like an
I
interim
was
coach
just
or something
using
right
it
now?
as
They
an
don't have.
example.
They
Right,
don't have
right.
Kenny
right.
Atkinson.
No,
So
they have
who's
Jock
like,
Vaughn.
That's their interim head coach.
Yeah, I don't mind Jock Vaughn, but obviously he's not the long-term
Nah,
solution there.
but real rap. You know why Kenny Atkinson got fired, right?
No.
Because CJ picked him to be coach of the year.
CJ, the cause of the Nets' demise.
Oh man.
Yo, I swear, but CJ called anything, but it's not happening.
Right.
That's why I
love
don't want-
CJ,
yo, I
but
hope he
might
roots
be
for
the
the
most
Lakers, yo.
biased fan ever.
Yo,
So
oh, Lord. Don't even get
No
don't even get us
objectivity.
started.
No objectivity.
I will.
CJ will have his own show, yo.
But listen, just to like get back to the playoff format, I think it's super exciting that we're going to be able to get sports even in this capacity. I think it's going to be really cool. It'll give us a lot of content to talk about, and so
Facts.
many exciting matchups.
Because
Exactly.
we're
Agreed.
low-key reeling a little bit. We're running out of stuff.
Yeah. So
But
again,
there's a lot going on, and we're gonna have some decent stuff to talk about next week for sure because all this is progressing really well. The NBA is obviously coming up with these solutions. The Players Association has been making calls, talking to the players. I know the
Right.
NHL, which Dave is going to talk about in a second, has been making progress. We'll talk about that next week.
The one progress
MLB
that I'm really
only league that's reached a stalemate, and I'm sure we'll get to that next week. But it's
Baseball.
not looking good for the MLB. But there's
Yeah.
definitely
I was just about to say
talk
that.
about next week.
It's,
yeah, exactly.
it's a money thing. It's a money thing.
Exactly. For the MLB, I did see a report. Again, we're recording on a Tuesday, so I did see a report come out that a player who would normally make $30 million a year is going to make $7.8 million for this upcoming
Which
season
is
by
just
losing
absurd.
by
I mean, how
losing
do you
over
ask
60% of their salary. Exactly. Again, I don't think the Player Association is going to agree to this. Again,
No.
if
No.
the Player Association didn't agree to A-Rod to Boston trade because he was going to lose $70 million out of a $220 million contract, they're not going to agree to this. So
And I had
The Player
I had been-
Association. I'm sorry to cut you off, Jack. They're
No.
a part on health and safety protocol too. So there's actually a lot they're a far apart
yeah,
on.
it's a whole mess.
It's a mess.
We'll get back in.
This-
We'll get more
Yeah, I
into
don't
that
think-
within
I
next
will
week.
say, I will say the one positive news that did come out today was that Governor Phil Murphy of New Jersey said that pro sports teams, if they follow proper CDC guidelines, are they are allowed
Valid.
to open up their facilities.
good to
which
go,
is-
right?
that's
Too
good.
bad it won't mean anything since the Devils aren't making the playoffs. But
No.
So,
no,
again-
no. Gotta tank.
But
Gotta tank again. Another year tanking.
Also
for the
something to
Devils.
talk about. I was reading on Instagram on this page called the Fin Zone. The Finns are still selling tickets and stuff. So I think that the NFL is looking like it's gonna come back like regular swing of things, fans and all of that. And to be honest, I might have to make my way to a Dolphins game. Yeah, I might have.
So a
So
lot
that
to be
tour
ready
jersey.
for next week.
exactly. There's-
Get
Oh,
that
definitely.
to a jersey.
We have a lot more to talk about, a lot more to get in depth with. Again, this episode was very chaotic,
Of course.
but again, we appreciate the love, we appreciate the listens, we appreciate the feedback, we appreciate everything you guys give us. This has been very fun. This has been another episode of Plays, K's, and Fadeaways. I'm David, alongside with Almar, Jack, Cinquay, and Mohammed. We thank you for listening, and we will see you again next week.
Thanks,
we
guys.
love you guys.
Stay safe.